One of my favourite areas of fiction is Greek mythology. I've read all of the Percy Jackson books, I've read Mythos and Heroes by Stephen Fry. Hell, I even own a copy of the Iliad and Odyssey, but it's quite long, so I haven't read all of it. So, naturally, when I stumbled across the movie Troy, my interest was piqued, not only because I like mythology, but because there aren't a lot of good movies involving Greek mythology, the Percy Jackson movies being prime examples of this. So, let's get into it. Troy released in 2004, starring Brad Pitt and was directed by Wolfgang Petersen of Das Boot fame, and was, as the title suggests, an adaptation of the Iliad. And to my surprise, there are some enjoyable elements of this movie, but it isn't without its faults. Firstly, the special effects, costumes and set design are all fantastic. You are totally convinced that this glorious, epic and bright world could be home to the legendary tale It Does House, and the battle scenes are massive and expertly display the size and scale of the invasion force, and really gave the impression that it was the biggest army in the world. There are some excellent performances as well, with Eric Bana, Peter O'Toole, Brian Cox, Sean Bean, Brendan Gleeson, Saffron Burrows, Diane Kruger and Orlando Bloom and Rose Byrne sounding out an incredible cast who all do a great job and sell their characters well. However, despite their greatness, there is one performance in this movie I really didn't enjoy. Brad Pitt sleepwalks through this movie. His line delivery is so muted and uninteresting, his accent is piss poor and changes all the time.
Imagine a king who fights his own battles. Wouldn't that be a sight? Violated my command.
Is there no one else?
That's why no one will remember your name. Who knows?
You sack of wine!
And this isn't helped by the script. The script for this movie is written in a way that makes it seem like the writers want you to think that they're smart or cool or edgy, but it just results in clunky dialogue, awkward delivery, and instead of making characters sound intellectual, it just makes them sound like one of those three thinkers the internet is plagued with these days. None of this should come as a surprise though, as this movie, despite its excellent cast and very experienced director, was written by David Benioff, who since this movie has helped come up with some poetry such as
Cocks are important, I'm afraid.
Dick, is that it?
Dick.
Cock.
Dick. I like it.
Bet you do.
Maybe it really is all cocks in the end.
Well, Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and...
You're a man.
Almost.
What the fuck?
Achilles is the main victim of all this, as although he is written as a guy who wants glory, he just seems a bit uninterested in everything. Like the whole concept of the movie is that Achilles will write his name into the history books by achieving greatness at Troy, and he comes across as if he doesn't give a shit. So it's just strange, and it makes it even weirder when he starts doing stuff like this.
Where? He's dead, my lord. Had to cut his throat.
Or this.
That is a wonderful trick.
Another huge problem I have with the movie is the complete lack of any of the Greek pantheon. The original story directly involves several Greek gods, and this movie does, surprisingly, what Game of Thrones does, and tries to have a cynical take on Greek mythology and the fools that believe in it. But the problem with that is that Game of Thrones is meant to be a grittier and more grounded fantasy story, whereas the Iliad is one of the most famous mythology stories ever. It has to include gods, it has to be mythical. Moreover, the changes like this cheapen the ending of the story. It completely changes the context of Achilles being shot in the heel by Paris, as this Achilles was never dipped in the river Styx, so he isn't immune or invulnerable over the rest of his body. So he could be shot anywhere and killed. Paris could have shot him in the head. He could have shot the guy who killed his brother in the head. He could have killed the guy who burned his city to the ground instantly. But no, he shot him in the heel? See what I mean? This is what happens when you change the story too much. This is what happens when you take out the mythology. The myth, the legend, becomes stale. It becomes weird. It becomes too Hollywood romantic. It just becomes cheap. Another thing about Paris is that he has spent the whole movie being immature or pathetic or embarrassing for his family. And he finally has a chance to prove himself, and he fucking misses? Are you kidding me? That doesn't make sense. It changes to the story, the original story, have cheapened the ending of this movie. And you can't help but wonder how good it would have been if some of the original mythology had been kept in. If the movie was just a bit more faithful, it could have been a lot better. And just to show you how far the movie deviates from the source, I'm going to summarise the story overall. Spoiler warning as of now. The story follows the unpaid intern Joe Black, who answers a call to arms after the sister-in-law of Waystar Royco's CEO commits corporate espionage and runs off to their competitor's Krusty Burger with the Krabby Patty recipe. And since
you can't make a tomlet without breaking some Gregs.
The board convenes and decides to start a bear hug against their owner of Krusty Burger, Anton Ego. The only problem is that Joe Black hates his boss and occasionally displays some insubordination. So will he follow his father's footsteps in the ways of the Force, or will he succumb to the threat of the White Walkers? 7.3 out of 10, IGN. Fun for all the family.